In case you forgot, do you all remember the last person to meet their demise? Remember, it was Rob. Do you all remember that? It was no, his name was what? Zob, not Rob. Zob the zombie. All right, so here's what. If you all want a chance, and it's probably a good idea, do you all want a chance to repick someone who will make it to the end? Right? Anybody wants to go ahead and repick? Go ahead. It still has Eli the elephant, Clara the cheetah, Rocco the rat. There are a lot of them still alive. So let me know in the chat, or if you're sticking with your old choice from last week. A lot of people are going with Rocco the rat. All right. I'm going to choose again. Last week, my character died. That was Finny the fish. And I even forgot I chose Finny until someone reminded me. So my pick will be, I am feeling lucky with Alan the alien. That's my choice. And just like you guys, I'm guessing just like you. Like I said, I made these things so long ago. I can't remember who actually won. Right? So I'm going with Alan the alien. Right? On those on YouTube, let me know in the chat as well. All right, so let's get started from where we officially left off last week. Last week, we had ended up with this question. I'm not going to do back the same question. I'm going to change it up a little bit because how we were doing this at the end of class last week, most people brain were tired by then. I was tired myself, right? So I want to take my time and explain back these types of questions, like how you go about differentiating this. So let me change the question a little bit. So for those who understood it, you won't get too bored in class today. So I'm going to take off this 7 and I'm going to put a 5, but over the x here, I'm going to put a square. So everyone take down that new question. We're going to try to differentiate 3x squared minus 1, and that whole thing is to the power 5. Right? For those who think they can go ahead and do it, you don't have to wait on me. You go ahead. For those who are a little bit lost, you just sit back and pay attention. Right? All right. So whenever you are differentiating this thing I call the hostage situation. The hostage situation is when you have something in brackets. You can have anything in the brackets, but you have a power on the outside. So you might like have a 7 on the outside, an 8 on the outside. The whole idea is everyone in the brackets, it's being held hostage by that power on the outside. Because the only reason we have these brackets is because of the power. So I think last week I started off these types of questions with trying to tell you that 2/3 is the same exact thing as 2. Like you pull apart the 2 and the 3. So you pull the 2 to the left and the 3, which is underneath to the right, is the same thing as this. Do you all at least remember that, and why this expression and this expression is the same exact thing in maths? The reason it is the same exact thing is because the 5 and the 5, because they are the same, they will ultimately do what? Cancel out, leaving you with what? 2/3. And the truth is, you could put anything here. In this diagonal, you could put anything you wish. You could even put what? A smiley face. Now, if you put a smiley face here, just make sure and put the same exact smiley face here. That way, the 2 smiley faces will what? Cancel out, leaving you with 2/3. So we were trying to find dy dx. Remember, dy dx just basically means you're trying to differentiate y and x, right? So do you all realize that I pulled the dy to the left and the dx to the right again, and I replaced this diagonal with the same exact thing, du and du. So they would automatically cancel out. Just let me know in the chat. Do you all see the similarity between this and saying 2/3 is the same exact thing as 2 on 3 and you have a 5 and a 5 here. Let's just at least make sure we have that clean. And I'll be doing it more than one time today. I have plenty examples on this, okay? Right. So it seems that the majority of the class understands it. Let's move forward. So in other words, to find dy dx, we just need to find something called dy du and then multiply it by something called du dx. This dot here means multiply. That is what that dot means. But if you look in this question here, you don't see any u's. You do not see the letter u. You only see y and x's. So now you have to ask yourself, well, where does the letter u come from? Well, the procedure is this. Whenever you're given a hostage situation, whatever you have in the brackets, no matter what it is, look inside the brackets only. Let u be equal to whatever is inside the brackets. So u is equal to 3x squared minus 1. So everyone take that down for me. That's it. That's the first step. Whatever is in the brackets, you let that be equal to the letter u. So wherever you see 3x squared minus 1, you could throw it away and replace it with what? The letter u. All right. So here's what now, right? What's going to happen is that y is equal to this. Do you think it's a fair statement to write this? I can throw away whatever is in the brackets and replace it with the letter u and put 5. Now, someone had asked if we need to put the brackets. You don't really need to put the brackets. You usually only use brackets if you have more than one items inside the brackets. And how we have the letter u here, you don't really have to put what? The brackets. It's not going to make a mathematical difference. Everybody with me so far? Since we are saying u is the same exact thing as 3x squared minus 1, because that is what an equal sign means, it's perfectly okay to throw away this and replace it with the letter u. So we end up with y is equal to u to the power 5. Right, so I'm going to do more than one examples, right? But I'm not going to be able to go back at this point in time because I kind of on a little pace moving forward, right? So if you're a little lost, don't get anxious or anything. There will be another example. Don't worry. All right. So do we all agree that if we look at the first expression, that's this one here, if we differentiate u and x, what will we get? Du dx. And if we take an equation with y and u, if we differentiate y and u, we will get what? Dy du, right? The two letters become part of the name of the differentiation. Remember, to find dy dx, we just need to take dy du and multiply it by du dx. So let's find this guy first. Let's see if we could find dy du. To find dy du, we just have to differentiate this equation. Could you all differentiate this for me? Remember, if it's y and u, we're going to get dy du. How do you differentiate something this simple? You throw the power in front and you minus 1 from the power. So I'm hoping that you at least remember that from last week. So differentiate dy du and send it on the chat. Throw the power in front and just simply minus 1 from the power. Right? So some people, right, the answers are coming up great. No wrong answers so far. All right. So when you differentiate this, we throw the power in front. So the 5 goes in front. You write back the u and you minus 1 from the power. Well, 5 minus 1 is 4. All right, great. So we have an expression for dy du. 5u to the power 4. We just need to find who now? Du dx. Couldn't we find du dx by using the first expression? Because if we want to find du dx, we need an equation with u and x in it only. Du dx. You think you all could differentiate this for me? How it's two separate items. You see how the minus one is separated from the 3x squared? You can differentiate him separately and him separately and put it over here because the two items are separated from each other. So it's real easy to differentiate a situation like that. Turn back in your notes, see if you remember how to differentiate a number by itself. You see how this minus one is by himself and he has no x's attached to him? Go back in your notes. Last week I showed you how to differentiate a number by itself. Right, so people are getting it correct. Right, so when you differentiate 3x squared, remember you're throwing the 2 in front. So the 2 by the 3 is 6. And then you'll be left with x to the power 1 because 2 minus 1 is 1. Now, whenever you have something to the power 1, the 1 is understood. You don't really have to put the 1. I mean, if you want to put the 1, nobody's going to take away marks. That's correct. But nobody realistically in any textbook is going to put x to the power 1. Right? So that again, you throw the 2 in front. He meets the 3. So 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. And you minus 1 from the power. And when you differentiate a number by itself, you will get what? 0. Do we really have to put that 0? If we minus 0 from something, is it really going to make a difference? The answer is no. So I'm not going to even bother to put the 0, which I had advised last week. Okay? 1 second here, guys. Somebody's blocking my view. Let's give me a few seconds here, guys. All right. So we're almost done, huh? To find dy dx, which is what we want to find, didn't we say we have to take the expression for dy du, which we have, and multiply it by du dx, which we have now? So let's put two of them together. Dy du is how much? 5u to the power 4 multiply. This already means multiply. How much is du dx? 6x. Well, let's simplify this a little bit, right? Let me put some arrows here for some people, right? This guy is him, and this guy is him. Can we multiply the 5 and 6 to make it look a little simpler? And we could simplify that. 5 by 6 is 30. So let's just put the 30, right? Couldn't we just put the x first and then put u to the power 4? Because in multiplication, the order doesn't matter. If I multiply 2 by 3 by 1, that doesn't really matter if I switch up the order and say 3 by 1 by 2. Multiplication, the order doesn't matter. So just to make it simpler and more pleasing to the eye, I guess that's a better term, I say 5 by 6 is 30, and I just put the x first, and I'm going to put the u last. We're almost done, huh? Now, don't get me wrong. This is the differential. That is the differentiation. But the examiner is not going to appreciate the letter u. Couldn't we just replace the letter u at the end back with the 3x squared minus 1? So let's do that. 30x, and this u here, throw him away, and you have to put the brackets this time. 3x squared minus 1, and you put back to the power 4. Because remember, we said at the beginning of the question, u is equal to 3x squared minus 1. So if we end up with the letter u at the end of the question, it's common courtesy to replace the u back with its original value. Okay? Right. So how did we get 6? Remember, if you're differentiating 3x squared, you throw the 2 in front. So the 2 meets the 3. And then you minus 1 from the power. 2 by 3 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. You do not have to put the number 1 because the 1 is understood, right? So do you all think you're understanding it a little bit better now from last week? By the way, this is the final answer here. We have plenty more examples to go about, but I just want to make sure that we're at least on 50 or 60% of understanding. Right? Now, guys, if you missed last week's class, right, there's not much I can do for you, right? Number last week, I believe I said if you miss one class in AdMaths, you're going to slip it. So if you know you missed last week's class, make sure and go through the recording. Not just go through it to say, hey, I went through the recording. Go through the recording. Make sure you understand it inside out. If you have to rewind 20 times to see me say back something, to make sure you understand it, you're going to have to do that in AdMaths, okay? All right? That's how somebody said I made a small mistake. Oh, guys, I made a small mistake. You're correct. Anybody see the mistake? It's u to the power 4. I put what here by mistake? 5. It's supposed to be 4. My mistake. It's u to the power 4. Thank you. True. You see, when you have to differentiate the hostage situation, the name of this rule is the chain rule. That's the official name for that formula. And you specifically use that for the hostage situation, where the whole thing is in brackets and you have a power outside. All right. Take down what you need to take down. I'm going to give you a half a minute, right? All right, so today is going to be loaded with hostage situations. All right, guys, who do you think is next to go? The last person was Zob the Zombie. Let me hear your picks. Who do you think is going to meet their doom? I'm hoping it's not Alan the alien, because that is my choice. I have a good feeling it's going to be Rocco. Let's see if I'm correct. Is it Rocco the rat? So yes, this alligator on the island. This is Houston's alligator. Let's see who is going to eat. Oh, it's Fiona, right? So remember to have this artificial island that this evil doctor created. So it have a whole set of danger. So apparently Fiona decided to rough it through the swamps. So she decided to go through the swamps. And she got stuck and the crocodile trapped her. Bye-bye, Fiona. So if anybody picked Fiona, sorry, keep going. All right, let's move on. Quite a few people picked Fiona and they're complaining on the chat here. Life is unfair. All right, so I want everyone to write down this question here. We're going to try to differentiate this. At first glance, it does not look like a hostage situation. And I want to explain why at first glance, it doesn't look like a hostage situation. Remember in the last question, we had y is equal to 3x squared minus 1, I think, to the power 5. You notice that this was not underneath anything. This was the numerator. You all notice you have a kind of hostage situation, but the hostage situation is underneath the 1. It's a denominator. Whenever, I believe I had mentioned this last week, well, whenever you are differentiating, it's not a good idea to have something underneath. You need to have it on top. Which brings us back to form 3 maths. Remember we said this last week, that if you have 1 over x squared, and you don't like it, like you don't like how the x squared is underneath, when you throw it on top, and you're allowed to throw it on top, anybody wants to tell me what the power will become? It will change from +2 to what? Well, whenever you take something and you move it from top or underneath to the top, remember the power becomes the opposite. So it will be what? X to the power minus 2. Now we got to be careful here. I know you all seen two powers, the one inside the brackets, x squared, and the one outside. According to the laws of maths, when you throw it on top, only the one on the outside becomes the oppositor. The ones inside the brackets do not change. So in other words, I'm gonna give you a simpler situation. Like if I had 3x squared minus 5, and that whole thing was in brackets and it was to the power 7, if I were to throw this on top, I would get 3x squared minus 5. You notice the powers inside the brackets remain exactly the same, but the one outside would change to minus 7. Okay? Only the one on the outside. So what I need for you all to do before we actually start this question, we have to take this whole denominator and throw it on top, because we're not allowed to differentiate. Well, as yet, because we're not experts in differentiating, there is a way to differentiate this without moving it to the top, but we haven't reached that level as yet. We will one day, don't worry. I'm going to throw it on top so it meets the 1. Well, when you multiply anything by 1, you get back itself, right? So I'm not going to write back this 1 here. And this will change to what? Minus 3. Everyone take down that for me. That's the starting of the question. Throw everything on top. Then begin to differentiate. Right. So now we're going to do the same thing. Everything inside the brackets, the 1 minus 3x plus 5x squared, that is being held hostage by Mr. minus 3, who is the power on the outside. The rules are, whoever is inside the brackets, you let them be equal to the letter u. So u is going to be 1 minus 3x plus 5x squared. Everyone write down that for me. Whoever is inside the brackets, you always, no matter what, let it be equal to the letter u. That's just the procedure. All right. So now that we know the letter u is equal to this, we can throw away everything inside the brackets and let it be equal to the letter u. From my last question, do we really have to put the brackets in this line? Is it really necessary to put the brackets there? Because it only has one thing inside here, right? I mean, you can put the brackets there, but that's overkill. You just only really use brackets when you have more than one items. So to make it simpler on yourself and make it more eye-pleasing, just leave it as u to the power minus 3 without the brackets. Do me a favor now. I want you guys to do these two differentials for me. Find dy du and du dx. Take a try, even though if you're not 100% understanding, like if you still have a slight idea. Remember, if you want to find dy du, choose the equation that only has y's and u's. If you want to find du dx, choose the equation that only has u and x. Take a half a minute. Let's see what you come up with. To differentiate, to find dy du, we have to look at this expression here, right? So, and a lot of people fell for the trick, right? Remember, when you have something simple like this, you just throw the power in front. So the power is minus 3. So we put the minus 3 in front. You have the letter u, and then you have to minus 1 from the power. Some of you all forgot. Minus 3 minus 1 is minus 4. Literally half the class had minus 2. All right? You throw the power in front and you minus 1 from the power. Right? So for those who got this wrong here, update that error. The next thing you have to find is du dx. So we have to choose the equation with u and x. You notice everybody separated here. I'm going to get a different color. The one separated from the minus 3x, and it's separated from this. So when you differentiate 1, we're going to get 0. I'm not going to write the 0. When you differentiate minus 3x, if you look back in your notes last week, if you have a number with only x in it, only x, like the x has no power, it's just x. When you differentiate this, you'll be left with the number only. So you'll be left with minus 3. Then we have to differentiate this. Throw the 2 in front, so the 2 will meet the 5. So 2 multiplied by 5 is 10, and then you minus 1 from the power. 2 minus 1 is 1. Do we really need to put the 1? No. How much people, at least now, but even if they got it wrong, right? No problem if you got it wrong. But for those who got it wrong, you think you understand it a little bit better now? Like, it's probably just simple things like forgetting to minus 1, or you minus the 1 from the minus 3 and you put minus 2, right? Great. Right. So to find dy dx, which is what the aim of the question is, dy dx, apparently we have to take dy du and multiply it by du dx. What's the expression for dy du? Didn't you work kind of hard to get it over here? So we're going to take dy du minus 3u to the power minus 4 and multiply it by du dx. Du dx is over here. I'm going to do something slightly wrong, and I want you all to tell me what I'm doing wrong. The expression for du dx is minus 3 plus 10x. What did I do slightly wrong there? Tell me what I did slightly wrong. Am I allowed to write it like that? Ah, Samir, correct. Khadija, correct. Dylan, I'm not too sure what you write there. No, not the multiply. Guys, don't I want to multiply this entire blue expression by this? Shouldn't I put this in brackets? If I leave out the brackets, that means I'm only multiplying the minus 3 by the pink item. Remember, this whole thing gets multiplied by this whole thing. Okay? You gotta be very careful. All right, we're almost done. We need to simplify this for the examiner. We can't. Well, actually, I don't think we can multiply everyone in the brackets by minus 3u to the power minus 4. But I don't think we need to do that. The only thing I think we need to do now is replace the u. You think we should do that? Let's replace that u. And what would we get if we replace that u? So we have minus 3. The letter u is how much? Remember the beginning of the question, we said the letter u is how much? 1 minus 3x plus 5x squared. And who do we have in brackets here? Oh, I forgot out something. Anybody want to tell me? I need more space here, guys. I'll start writing it from here. We have minus 3. U is how much? Look, the value of u is this here. So I'll put open brackets. 1 minus 3x plus 5x squared. Close brackets. And I have to put back the minus 4. And who do we have in the end here? Minus 3 plus 10x. We would get full marks for that in the exam, right? But some people like me, remember last week, I told you all, I do not like to see a negative power. So if you want, and not mandatory, couldn't I throw this whole thing underneath and change everything, throw the whole brackets underneath and change the power minus 4 to positive 4? If I do that, the final answer could look like this. throw the whole thing underneath. 1 minus 3x plus 5x squared, and the minus 4 becomes positive 4. And if you want to make it simpler, couldn't you just simply multiply everyone in the top brackets by minus 3? So you'll get positive 9 minus 30x. You could also do that. But you don't get full marks up to here, or you'll even get full marks up to here. The examiners are going to take away any marks. Take a good look at it. Take a good look. I'm going to give you a minute to take down everything that you need to take down if you just want to read it back through so it sticks in your head. Let me know when you're finished and you're ready to move on. Move on. All right, who do you think is next, guys? Who is going to meet their doom? Apparently, there's this tornado, man-made tornado on the island. I'm just hoping it's not us, but that's my choice. People are saying it's Freddy the Frog. Freddy. Let's see who gets their doom. And it's Eli. So Eli apparently got too close to the tornado on the island that Dr. Evil created. Poor Eli. Didn't have a chance. Bye-bye, Eli. So who's the competition between now? Who's still alive? Let me just see who's still alive here. Who's still alive? Freddy the Frog is still alive. Alan the Alien is still alive. Clara the Cheetah. And Rahu the Rat. So it has 4 people here that could possibly meet. All right, now this is believe me, this is another hostage situation. Let me help write down the question, and you all, with a little bit of assistance, are going to try this one. Right, so I'll give you a full 5 minutes to do this one. Do you all remember what square root means? Square root is the same thing as to the power what? Do you all remember from last week? This square root is the same thing as to the power a half. I had explained that last week, right? So instead of saying the square root of 25, you could say 25 to the power a half is the same exact thing in maths. Can we differentiate this expression right now? Do you think it's a good idea to differentiate that right now? What do you all think? No, right? Because this is underneath. You see this 2x cubed plus 7 to the power half? He's underneath the division sign. We need to throw it on top. So when you throw it on top, remember, the power, which is a half, only the one outside the brackets, the one inside the brackets is not affected. You're going to get this. To the power a half, right? Minus a half. Now, I'm just going to put 0 minus 0.5. I really don't like fractions. Everybody with me so far? The positive a half changes to minus a half. 0.5 is the same thing as a half. You're with me so far? Right? Square root changes to the power a half, and we throw the whole underneath on top, and the power becomes the opposite. Get started. This is your starting point now. This is a hostage situation because everyone inside the brackets is being held hostage by the minus a half. Good luck. You have 5 minutes. It doesn't matter if you work it out and get it wrong. Just try. It's better to try and get it wrong than just sit there and wait for me to work it out. That's a really bad plan. Okay? Good luck. All right, so the letter U. The letter U is whoever's in the brackets. So that's our starting point, sorry. So U is 2x to the power 3 plus 7, because that is who is inside the brackets. That is who is inside the brackets. So now we can rewrite the expression like this. Y is equal to 4 u to the power minus 0.5, right? Now, when I write it like this, this minus 0.5 only belongs to the u. I could put brackets here, but it really, it's not going to make a mathematical difference, right? So for those who are a little bit lost and scratching their heads, I replace this here with the letter u. So I get 4u to the power minus 0.5. Don't let the 0.5 get to you. It's just a decimal. It's just a number, right? Don't make it feel special by thinking it's hard, okay? dy du. Let's find this guy first. dy du. So we have to differentiate something with y and u. So y and u is this guy here. We throw the power in front. I'll do this one slowly. So you throw the power in front. So the minus, 1 second here. The minus 0.5 goes in front. It will meet Mr. 4. And then you have to do what? Minus 1 from the power. So minus 0.5 minus 1. Everybody, I'm going to simplify that for you, obviously, right? But everybody with me so far? You throw the minus 0.5 in front. The rule was you throw the power in front and you minus 1 from the power. That was the rule, right? Minus 0.5 by 4, I guarantee you that will give you 2. And minus 0.5 minus 1 is minus 1.5. You can put a fraction version of it. It's really up to you. How much people had up to there? I'm going to clean up this mess here, but you'll get 2u to the power minus 1.5. How much people with me so far? Great. So let me simplify that for you all, right? I have to clean up this mess here, right? So I'm going to erase it now. When you differentiate that, you get minus 2u to the power minus 1.5. And it has to be minus 2, not positive 2, because minus 0.5 multiplied by positive 4 is minus 2. Great. Let's find du dx. You need an expression with u and x. That's this guy. The two of them are separated. Lucky for us. Throw the power in front. You'll get 6x squared. Throw the 3 in front. 2 by 3 is 6. Minus 1 from the power. 3 minus 1 is 2. When you differentiate a number standing by itself with no x's, you're going to get 0. I'm not going to even bother to put a 0. Let's combine them now. Let's combine them. So to find dy dx, we have to take dy du. Where's dy du? dy du is this guy here, who is minus 2u to the power minus 1.5. And we have to multiply him by du dx. This is du dx here. I'm going to put this whole thing in brackets because I had mentioned that last time. Because you want to multiply this whole thing by this. So that's what the brackets signify. Right? Before I replace u, right? Let's identify who is u. This is the value for u, right? Minus 2, I'm going to write it in a different color. Open brackets, 2x cubed plus 7, close brackets, to the power minus 1.5, and you can just write back this guy here. Right? This will be considered 100% correct in the exam, but the blue part, if you don't like the blue part, how it has a negative power, not a problem. You could throw the blue part underneath and the power will become what? Positive. See, the minus 1.5 changed to positive 1.5. So I could throw the whole blue part of it underneath to make it look neater. This is also 100% correct. Somebody said I made a mistake. What did I make a mistake with? Oh Lord, I made a mistake. That's the way. Somebody still had a mistake. I probably was talking too fast. Let me just check it through. So, all right, guys. Let's see why I went wrong. I did something wrong. All right, so let's see. I have the dy du. Do I have that part correct? dy du. And then I have to multiply by what? Du. Oh, Lord, it was just this 6x squared. Ah. All right. I have it correct there now, guys. Let me know. Everything correct so far? All right, great. On the correct track. This is actually way easier now, but the mistake I made it more complex. So I could simplify this. I could take the -2 and multiply it by the 6. I will get minus 12 x squared, and I could put the u part here last, right? You can have the u in the middle as well, right? It doesn't matter. But I'm just going to put the u part last. Remember, multiplication, the order does not matter. Now I can take what? The letter u and replace it with what? The letter u is equal to 2x cubed. 2x cubed plus 7. I have it correct there now, guys. That looks correct. And of course, I could throw the pink part underneath and make the power positive, if I wish. Ah, right. So it seems I finally got my own question correct. Right, so for those who are a little confused, dy du, I had it correct, but du dx, I was supposed to put what? 6x squared. I put something else. I don't know what I was thinking. And that's the answer to get full marks in the exam. All right, so I'm glad you all saw the mistake, which means you all probably understand it a little bit better than me. All right. Right. And of course, they're just to finalize, if you decide to throw this underneath, right? If you decide to throw this underneath, the power just becomes the opposite. Whenever you move something from the underneath to the top, the power on the outside becomes positive. So you can leave this on top, or you could throw it underneath. It's really up to you all. Any one of these answers would be correct. Right, so you have yes. Let's see who's next. I don't know. I'm not too sure about this music, right? What are your thoughts on this music? The music is so happy, and people are just making it. I don't think I changed the correct type of music for this scenario. Probably that's the music in Dr. Evil's head. I don't know. All right, so apparently, let's see who is going to get eaten by the mutant octopus. I'm hoping it's Rocco the rat. And once it's not Alan the alien. It's Rocco. Sorry, guys. I know a lot of you all had your hopes on Rocco. Right, so Rocco got eaten by the mutant octopus on the island. Bye-bye, Rocco. It was nice knowing you. So who's left now? I think that's how much? 3 people, no? 3 people are left, right? Freddie, Alan, and Clara. Anybody chose you gone already? No. Zob gone. I didn't see the X by Zob, but I forgot Zob got eradicated earlier on today. All right, so this is the part of class, right, where I am going to show you all a shortcut to what we have just been using. Remember, all the time we've been using this formula. I write it in back here, right? Anybody wants to remind me of what's the name of this equation again? It starts with the letter C. Right, that's the chain rule. So there's actually a shortcut to differentiate in these types of questions. There's actually a shortcut, okay? And after you see the shortcut, you are going to be like, why did sir show me this long, complex thing called the chain rule when there was a much easier way to do it? Now, before you look up my name on the on Google and find my home address and come to burn down my house, let me explain why. All right. In the exam, the examiner could tell you to use the chain rule. Okay. If the examiner tells you, hey, use that chain rule, you have no choice but to use it. Because if you use the shortcut, you're going to get 0 marks in the exam. But in cases where the examiner doesn't specify how to differentiate a hostage situation, feel free to use the shortcut. So I'm going to show you how to do this question here. Right? So remember last week we did this question, right? We're going to show you using the shortcut method. Everyone take down this for me. Get ready for the shortcut method. And you will, if the examiner doesn't tell you which method to use, it doesn't matter if you use the long method or the short method, you're going to get the same amount of marks because he didn't specify, right? And sometimes you're going to be forced to use the shortcut. Sometimes you have a differentiation question, and the differentiation is such a small part of the entire question. You're not going to have time to waste doing the chain rule. You're going to be forced to use that shortcut method to finish that exam in time. Right, so here's what you're going to do. I'm going to do it more than once with multiple examples, right? So don't get frightened. You know it's a hostage situation because you have brackets and something on the outside. Remember how you would differentiate x to the power 8? You would throw the power in front and you just minus 1 from the power. Remember that from last week and of course a big part of today's class? View that question like this. You see this power here? Throw him in front. Throw the 7 in front. So you throw the 7 in front. And the whole brackets, put it back. So you throw in the whole 7 in front. And guess how much we have to minus from the power? 1. So what we're going to get here after we minus the 1 from the power? 6. Great. But that's not the end. The shortcut method is short, but it's not that short. So the point is, you pretend this is a normal differentiation question. You throw the power in front, you minus 1 from the power. Then I want you all to look inside here. This is supposed to be an I here. Who is inside the brackets? 3x minus 1. I want you to write, just on somewhere on the side, right? Write whoever is in the brackets. 3x minus 1. Forget everybody else. Just focus on that. Differentiate this for me. What will you get when you differentiate 3x minus 1? No, you're not going to get 6. You're going to get 3. And when you differentiate a number touching x, you'll just be left with the number. And when you differentiate minus 1, you're going to get 0. You see, when you differentiate whoever is in the brackets, just put multiply by that. And that's pretty much the end of the question. 7 by 3 is how much? 21. And then you put back the brackets. You can't multiply out that brackets. You can only multiply the 7 by the 3. That's as simple as that will get. And that's the end of the question. How much of y'all are really angry right now? Really angry. Like you're literally searching for my address online. So you may burn it down tonight. Someone said they're disappointed. Sorry, guys. I know I could have shown you all the shortcut first, right? But you know what would have happened if I showed you all the shortcut first? You all would have never listened to me with the hard method. Because when you find out, if you know an easier way to do something, your brain is not going to say, hey, let's learn the hard method. I had to show you what? The hard method first. Let's make this question harder. Remember when I came to class today, I changed this question. So let me change up that question for you all now. Let me change up that question for you all. Remember, I think I came to class and I erased this and I put this here. Let me change it up. Let's put let me put 10 here, and let me put to the power 5 here. You think you all can differentiate that using the shortcut? Try that one. Right? Try this one here for me. Remember, all you're doing is looking outside the brackets, and you're going to throw that power in front and -1 from the power. So the beginning of the question looks like this. You throw the 10 in front, you write back exactly what it have inside the brackets, you don't change a thing, and you -1 from the power, 9. But that's not the end of the question, right? You have to go inside the brackets now. So you write whatever is inside the brackets, whatever it is. In this case here, it's 3x to the power 5 -1. And all you have to do is differentiate this. When you differentiate 3x to the power 5, you're going to get 15x to the power 4, because you throw the power in front and -1 from the power. When you differentiate a number by itself, you get 0. Whatever you get here, you just multiply the whole expression by that. And if it's possible to simplify it, you do. 10 multiplied by 15 is 150. Don't forget to put back the x to the power 4, and then you put back this brackets here. This will save you a lot of time in the exam. Okay. How much people got that 100% correct? No errors. You can have the, and let's say, you can have it mixed up. You can have the 150 first, the brackets here, and you can have x to the power 4 after. The order really doesn't matter. But because multiplication, the order doesn't matter. So if you have it mixed up, it's still correct. So this is the shortcut method. And I'm telling you, the shortcut real useful, especially when you have a ridiculously long question to do. You're going to have to use that shortcut method, like I mentioned before, to finish that exam in time. All right, so take a minute, take down what you need to take down, and we will move on. All right. Clean. I like this too. Oh, there's a volcano on the island. Remember, Dr. Evil had created this synthetic volcano that he could make explode on its own. Who do you think is next to go? Who do you think is next to go? It's between Freddie, Clara, and Alan. Who's next? Yeah, for those who died, you can feel free to play the game. You can choose somebody else. It doesn't matter. Yeah, get to the game, choose somebody. All right, let's see who's next to me. Oh, Dr. Evil had no intention of letting someone from another solar system win those games. Poor Alan. So I am out of the game. Alan is gone. He was my choice. This is probably intergalactic noodle of some sort. All right, so then you have 2 people left, right? Freddie and Clara. Let's see who will win this game. Okay, guys, use the shortcut on this one, right? Let me change up this question. That's all. I want to change it up. Erase this 3. Just let's see if you all fall for any tricks here. And I want you to change this to minus, that's now, -7. Try that question. Differentiate that using the shortcut method. Remember, square root is the same thing as to the power 1/2. Good luck. I just want to make sure you're on the right track, right? So remember, you have to rewrite this like this. 5 minus 4x to the power -7, and the square root is to the power 1/2, or 0.5, positive 0.5, because He's on top already. We didn't change his position from numerator to denominator. Right. Right. I think mostly correct answers are coming up. Yeah. When you differentiate this, you throw the power in front. So let's do that. So the 0.5 goes in front. And you have to minus 1 from the power. 0.5 minus 1 is minus 0.5, right? That's after we minus 1. So we throw the power in front, minus 1 from the power. But we're not finished. We have to take whoever is inside the brackets. Who's inside the brackets? 5 minus 4x to the power minus 7. And we have to differentiate that. And whatever we get, put it over here. When you differentiate 5, who is a number standing by itself, we get 0. So we don't care about him. We're going to get 0 when we differentiate him. When we differentiate this expression, you throw across the minus 7 in front. Minus 7 multiplied by minus 4 is positive 28. And then you minus 1 from the power. Minus 7 minus 1 is minus 8. Look at that properly. It has some serious signs changes there. Minus 7 multiplied by minus 4 is positive 28. Right? Positive 28. And the minus 7 minus 1 is minus 8. And we just put that in front here. Right? And you could simplify this if you wish. You could say 0.5 multiplied by 28. You're going to get 14. You could put the x to the power minus 8 in front and then put the brackets here. How much people had it correct? No, and it's supposed to be minus 8. Anybody disagrees with the minus 8? I don't know if I made a mistake. That correct or wrong? Remember, minus 7 minus 1 is minus 8. If you owe somebody 7 and then you owe them a next one, I think we get in minus 8, right? So this here could be your final answer, or if you don't like how this whole bracket is to a negative power, you can write back your answer like this. And if you don't like how this minus 8 is on top, what you could do, you can leave the 14 on top. This x to the power minus 8, you could throw it underneath, you'll get positive 8. And this whole brackets, you could throw it underneath as well. And the minus 0.5 becomes positive 5. If you want, right? And not necessary to do it. But if this negative power is here, you know, irritating you, you could throw the whole thing underneath and it will become what? Positive. Right? So some people said I made another mistake. I don't know if I made another mistake. That's now. Let's get this game rolling. All right, so it's between Freddie and Clara. So apparently there was a snake on the island, a gigantic snake, mutant snake. Oh no, guys! Freddie and Clara had teamed up, being the only two left on the island. And both of them got eaten by that snake. I know what you all are trying to say. If everybody dies, there must be a winner. And there's a surprise at the end of this. Right? There's a surprise. Somebody did win. Somebody did win. Keep your hopes up. Keep your hopes up, guys. It's not Dr. Evil. It's one of the animals here that are going to lose. Don't worry. I won't do you all that. All right. So before we reveal the actual winner, I need for you all to take down this for me. How to differentiate? Yes, we have to learn to differentiate sine, tan, and cosine and thing now. We're not tanners yet, just sine and cosine. Whenever you differentiate sine, you get cosine. Whenever you differentiate cosine, you get minus sine. Take down these two first. Take down these two. These two pretty easy to understand, right? Next week, we're going to get a lot of practice on differentiating trigonometry functions. Today, just going to get a little introduction to it. I'm going to write a question. All right. So let me explain these here now, right? These are two formulas you need to learn off. Let's say I ask you to differentiate sine, open brackets, 3x plus 7, right? Right now, you all will not know how to apply this to questions. So let's get the format down. When you differentiate sine 3x plus 7, when you differentiate sine, you get cosine. So you write cosine. Whatever is in the brackets, you write it back exactly. Don't change a thing. And whoever is touching x, who is touching x in this? 3. Whoever is touching x, you just throw them outside. That is it. That is what this formula is trying to say. When you differentiate sine, you get cosine. You write the same exact thing in the brackets, and whoever is touching a, you make a photocopy of them outside. So you see how the 3 was touching the x? I just made a photocopy of that. When you differentiate cosine and you have something in brackets, it's almost the same thing. When you differentiate cosine, you get minus sine, and whoever is touching x goes outside. So when you differentiate this, you will get minus 8 cosine 8x minus 3. Whoever is inside the brackets does not change. I made a small mistake. It's supposed to be sine. Right. So notice what happened. What happened there? When you differentiate cosine, you get minus sine. Write back the brackets exactly as it is. And whoever is touching x, throw them outside. Not throw them, photocopy them outside. Right? Don't worry, you're going to be seeing this over and over and over and over and over, right? Take down the formulas, and as we do the questions, you'll get some practice on it. But do not overthink it. This is actually going to be super easy compared to what we just did. Not because it's sine and cosine, it's going to be harder. I think it's going to be a little bit easier once you memorize the formulas. Right. I just want to point out one thing here. If I have to differentiate cosine, sine 8x, right? Now, sine 8x comes like, it's not x, right? It's not like it have x alone here. It's not like it have x alone. Sine 8x comes like sine 8x in brackets. Just nobody has put the brackets. So when you differentiate sine x, you will get cos x. You write back the 8x. And what number do we have to put over here? Well, what number do you think we're going to put over here? 8. As simple as that. Okay, 8. Take 20 seconds and we're going to figure out who actually won the competition. But you'll have to be honest with me, right? You'll have to be honest. Can you all tell me last week when we started the game, who was your original choice? I'm not talking about the new choice you made today. Who was your original choice from last week? Send it on the chat. Send it on the chat. All right. Well, let's go ahead and see. So who won, right? Do you all remember how Zob died? Remember Zob, this zombie? He drank the radioactive waste last week or this week, and he died. Well, we thought he died, but he's a zombie. Why would radioactivity even kill him? So when Dr. Evilo assumed he died, but the radioactive substance just knocked him out. And then the radioactivity substance activated in him. And he became super large, super strong, and he was able to defeat everything on the island. And he won the competition. Anybody truly and honestly chose Zob last week? Like, be honest with me. Kishan, you won the game. Ethan, you won the game. Jaden, you won. Nickel, Haley, all right. So much people. So the actual winner was Zob, the zombie. All right, guys. So I hope you all had fun with this game here. All right. Let's see what's next. Let's see what's next. What is next? We'll have our next game in a little while. So I want you all to try to differentiate these two things for me. Don't overthink it. I even put the formulas next to you here to aid you in the question. Good luck and send both answers for me, please. So remember, when we differentiate cosine, we get minus sign, right? So when we differentiate cosine, we always get minus sign. And whoever is touching the x, they also go in front, right? So when you differentiate this, you'll get dy dx, right? Writing dy dx is super important. This means you are differentiating y and x. If you don't write dy dx, the examiner will pretend he doesn't know what you're trying to differentiate, even though he might know, right? When you differentiate the cosine, you get minus sign, and whoever is touching x gets photocopied outside. So it's minus 2 sine, and you write back the 2x. Because well, when it's 2x now, you already pretend it's in brackets now. All right. A lot of people got that correct. When you differentiate this, you're going to get dy dx. Now the 4 is by himself. Right? You all see that this 4 is by himself. When you differentiate a number by himself, and you're going to get 0. So the 4, when you differentiate that, you're going to get 0. I'm not even going to bother to write the 0. When you differentiate sine, what you're going to get? When you differentiate sine, you get positive cosine. But whoever is touching x gets photocopied outside. So it's 3 cosine, and you write back this exactly as it is. How much people got both correct? Right? Don't overthink this. Remember, this is going to be simpler than what we just did. The point is, when you differentiate sine, you get positive cosine. If you differentiate cosine, you get minus sine. Right? And don't worry if you don't catch it 100% today. Next week when we start class, this is going to be our starting point. I'm going to recap all of this. So let's get a little, a little accustomed to it. All right, so we need a new game to play. Oh, somebody asked which formula to use, right? In this one, aren't we trying to differentiate cosine? So if you're trying to differentiate cosine, you either use this formula or this formula. This means we're trying to differentiate cosine right now. We're trying to differentiate cosine. If there's a number other than x, like, you see how these here only have plain old x's, but this have a and then x? So this one here, I would be using this formula here for cosine, sorry, this one, because it's not plain x. When it's not plain x, like you have 2x, use these formulas. That will remind you that whoever is touching x needs to get photocopied at the front. All right. Right, so I hope that answers the question. Right now, like I said, I'm going to repeat what I just said, right? Don't worry if you don't understand it 100%. Your brain's coming to the tired zone. We will be starting back from this point next week. You don't have to worry. All right, so we need a new game to play, guys. We need a new game to play because the one with Zob and whatnot just finished. So let's see what other game we have. We could continue next week. So I have a new game. How much of yours saw this already? I believe the English teacher might have used this in one of the classes. This is a game where you're trying to cheat debt. Anybody saw this one as yet? Let me know in the chat here. If not, I'll explain how to play this game. All right. So, yeah, well, I had to make debt look a little goofy. I didn't want to make it scary for you all. And you all have little nightmares and whatnot. All right. So the premise of this game, in every scene, you're about to die, right? So you're in a certain time zone, and then death appears, and it gives you a chance to live. Like he will let you live if you play his silly game. All right. So here's, you get a piece of paper. Let's get a piece of paper. Let's rip out a piece of paper from somewhere. Right. Here's what you're going to have to do. Here's Death's silly game. Right? He's going to tell you to choose 3 things, right? And write it down in this order for me. I want you all to write down a number, one number between 1 and 9. 1 and 9 are included. So you could actually choose 1 or all the way up, including 9. Choose one number. You just choose one number. You write it down on that piece of paper. Only one number, right? So I cannot remember the game. So my choice is 7. I'm going to choose 7. Choose any letter afterwards from A to Z, any letter in the alphabet. I'm going to choose S. I'm going with S. Choose wisely, and now choose any color, only one color, red, orange, yellow, green, or blue. I'm feeling green, so I'm going to choose the green. You don't have to choose what I choose, and I do this blindly as you. So so send your choices on the chat. So my choice is 7, S, and green. Send it on the chat, and you cannot change it. I'm putting number first, the letter, and then the color. I am 7S green. You cannot change whatever you choose. Cannot. Well, once I show you how to play this game once, later it's going to be real easy and fun. All right. So let's move to, but you can't change it, huh? So let's move on. I'm 7S green. So now Death is going to pull out these 3 orbs, right? Here's what you want. You don't want any of your choices appear in those orbs. Once one of your items appear, you lose the game. So you do not want your item to appear. So let's see the first orb. The first orb always reveals the number. Let's hope your number doesn't appear. Did anybody choose 3 and 4? If you choose 3 and 4, you're out. You died. Death is going to take you to the afterlife. Anybody still alive? Anybody did not choose 3 and 4? You have to survive all 3 to not die. All right. So it have some people still living. Let's check your letter. Let's hope your letter does not appear in the second orb. Anybody still alive? So if you chose P, K, and S or Z, you're gone. I gone because look, S here. So I die. So that takes me to the afterlife. I'm gone. Anybody still alive? You have to make the color now. Well, once your color doesn't appear, you're living. Let's see. Red and yellow. Anybody made it to the end? Who ultimately survived? So if you choose red or yellow, you're gonna. You're not supposed to appear. Ah, right. A few people survived, man. I didn't survive either because I chose S. Now I was 7S green, so S appeared. So I lost that game. All right, guys. So I think you all get the hang of it. Let's move on. Oh, Lord. Afraid to show you all this at the end of class today. All right, let's take it easy. I only want you to do one, right? I want you to only differentiate the first one. I'm not going to make you do the next one. I don't want to give you all a heart attack on a Tuesday. All right. Can we all agree that for the first one, we're using the third formula, this guy here? We can all agree with that because we're trying to differentiate sign. So you're looking at the third formula. So that's my assistance to you. This is just pi. Pi over 2 is just a regular boring number. Pi over 2 doesn't have any x in it. Remember, pi over 2 is just a decimal, right? Next week, we will start this question, the second question, right? So go ahead, guys, send the answers on the chat, and let me see what you come up with. When you differentiate sign, do we all agree we get cosine? Look at it here. When we differentiate sign, we're going to get cosine. So this sign will change to what? Cosine. Don't we have to write back the brackets exactly as it is? Remember, I told you that the thing inside the brackets is not going to change, even though it looks complex. And don't forget, you have this annoying 3 on the outside. This 3 is being multiplied. He's not being added or anything. So he was always touching what? The sign there. Who do we have to throw outside to meet the 3? Who's going to go outside? Who's going to get photocopied outside? The 5, and right. So the 5, whoever, remember the rule was whoever is touching x gets photocopied on the outside. So it will go on the outside to meet Mr. 3. You don't actually differentiate the 3, right? Whenever the 3 is being multiplied, you just leave it alone. Now, trigonometry a bit strange, but you'll get the hang of it. 5 by 3 is 15 cosine 5x plus pi on 2. Don't let the pi on 2 get to you. The point is, even if this was complex, you were supposed to write back whatever is inside the brackets exactly the same. A lot of people did get it correct, but a few did get it wrong. But like I said, we're coming to the end of class. You all are tired. I don't expect you all to understand this fully. That's my job next week. All right, who wants to try one last cheat debt game? Anybody on it? Anybody up for the challenge? You want to try to cheat debt one more time? You want to test your luck before you leave here today? All right, let's go. So this is the premise. You're in the year, you're very way back in time, right? Around 3000 and something BC, and you and your tribe went hunting for food on the African plains, and you were attacked by a lion and left for dead. But luckily, death showed up. Yeah, silly little rhyme, right? Choose right and never see the light. So guys, choose a number, a letter, and a color. Let me play along with you guys. And my number is going to be 6. My letter is going to be K, and my color, I'm going to go back with green. I'm feeling lucky with green today. Send your choices on the chat there. You cannot change it. So I'm 6K green. Come guys on YouTube, send it on the chat. Send it on the chat. Send your choices. Let's see how lucky you can get. A lot of people. All right, so let's see if you guys got lucky. Let's see if you got lucky. I'm 6K green. Let's see if I get lucky. All right, so let's look at the first orb. Oh, I'm gone. 6 there. I'm dead. Anybody still living? Anybody did not pick 6 and 5? You don't want your items up here. Ah, somebody still living. All right, let's check the letter. But I did already, so it don't matter. If you chose M-E-R or G, you're gone. If not, if you survive the first orb and you survive the second orb, you're still living. All right, a lot of people are still living. Let's do the last one here. Let's see if your color does not appear. If you chose green or yellow, you're gone. Anybody survived all three orbs? Anybody survived? Hey, surprisingly, a lot of people did make it through. Look at that. If you won today twice, if you won twice, that means luck is on your side today. You should probably go and play the lottery or something. All right, guys. Okay. So for those who understand the homework and where to get the homework and thing, you're free to leave. For those who didn't understand where the homework was, stay back. Right? So this is where class ends for those who know what the homework is. Take care, guys. For those who are going, for those who don't know, stay back now. I'll take 2 minutes and explain the homework. All right. Take care, guys.